Welcome to our Thursday weekly training. You are in a space where, if you've been with your partner for over 10 years, we talk about how to get out of roommate mode, how to feel more connected with our partner. My name is Katie Rössler. I've been doing this for 20 years, and I love working with high achieving couples who are stubborn, frustrated, and feeling like, I know we could be something better than this, but roommate mode is just kind of where we're stuck. So, thank you to those who are showing up live today. We're going to talk about what do we do when our partner gets defensive? And let's be honest, this isn't just for your partner, it's also for when you get defensive. But it's just so much easier to like market it for your partner, right? So I want you to think about the typical arguments you have with your partner and who usually gets defensive first and why. Like, it's just really good that we start to practice self awareness and practice awareness of the patterns that are happening in our relationship. Because truly, that's what I teach couples to do. I don't go in and tell them, here's you, and this is what you're doing. So I teach them the patterns and then I have them go, where do you see that happening in your relationship? How do you notice how you're feeding into that pattern? Right. So think about it. When are times in your arguments where one or both of you get defensive? And is it when one or both of you say something in particular, do something in particular, roll your eyes, huff, walk away, whatever it is, right? Is there something that is said or done in which defensiveness is your go to? Because it is most of our natures to get defensive. We do not like when we're called out on things. Many of us don't like receiving feedback, especially when we feel like our partner makes those same mistakes. We really struggle with hearing some things that we're not happy about in ourselves that we'd really rather no one else know about or see, and yet they do, right? We also just don't like when we've had, a tough day and somebody like slams us with like, and you did this too. So, defensiveness is a great self-protection skill. However, in a relationship, it can be really detrimental to having any type of healthy conversation. And it goes back to what we were talking about last week, where instead of turning towards each other, defensiveness makes sure that we're pointing our backs to each other and looking away. And it can be very hard to communicate and get through to someone who's, turned their back to you because they just don't want to hear it. They feel often fairly tender and vulnerable, but that's not the piece you get to see. You get to see like the castle walls are up. And I remember I was working with a couple, and the husband was the one who would put the walls up and sort of get defensive and then shut everyone out. And we talked about like, what is the purpose of that? And he said, to protect myself. And I said, but what are you protecting yourself from? Her feelings and what she says. And I said, okay, totally hear you. Really uncomfortable when your partner is disappointed, angry, upset. Really frustrating when your partner's pointing out things to you that you're like, but you made that mistake last week. Absolutely. But is this so hurtful, so painful that it feels like life or death? And he was like, well, I mean, no, because I get like it's just her, and I just don't like when she feels that way. And I don't like when she talks to me that way. Absolutely. Yeah, totally get that. But putting up walls in defense is like, protect me, protect me, protect me. Because there's something vulnerable and small and part of me that can get really hurt when the person I love says things that I don't like, that feel too real, that I'm scared means they're going to leave. Right. So our defensive walls are protecting something softer within us that we don't really want someone to be able to address because we're not addressing it either. So, just an interesting perspective on defensiveness as you reflect on your own and maybe even your partner's. What is usually calling up this wall of protection? Now, what I notice in the couples I work with and in myself, it's I feel criticized. I feel like I'm failing. I'm afraid you're going to leave me. I feel like I'm not enough. This is that vulnerable, softer side within that wants to be protected. And when we come to our partner and we've even have feedback that we think we're coming in the softest and kindest, and we've sandwiched it with all these goodies that how great you are, and then we share that thing. If they're in a state where that side of them feels, I feel like I'm failing at everything in life right now. It doesn't matter how much positive in that moment you put into things. They are going to feel tender and want to protect themselves from anyone and anything. You may find this with your partner if they start to be really point the finger at my boss, my coworker, my friend, my mom, right? Pointing the finger at everyone else. There's something tender in them that doesn't want to feel what they're feeling. And so it's easier to get defensive and reactive. But truly, the story that's being told to themselves is there's something not right, or there's something wrong about me, or my partner is attacking me and I feel a bit like the victim. And so they protect. So when you think about the times you've been defensive, reflect on what was the message you were actually hearing from your partner when you got defensive. I know one of the big ones for me that I mean, I'll all day long is sort of that feeling like I'm not good enough. Not that I don't do things enough, but that I'm not good enough. And it only really shows up in my core relationship with my partner. And it's totally childhood stuff, right? But if I don't check in with myself and be like, that's not what he's saying. That's what not this is not about, this is not that problem. Oh, like autopilot, whoo, I will get defensive. I'm really good at turning it around. I'm really good with my words. I'm really good with like, really, would you like to talk about the times that you do instead of going, ouch, that hurts, how you said that, I wasn't really prepared for. I need a moment. No, no, defensive walls come up and I'm like, let me show you a mirror, dear husband. But that's my defensive reaction that I have to be aware of because I'm afraid that the reality is that I'm not enough. Even though logically I know that's not true, there's that softer side of me that's like, gotta protect where it feels like I'm not enough. And when he says something that might touch that wound, no, no, no. So let me deflect. Let me push it off on him. Let me get him so confused that he's so focused on himself. And so, those of you who are listening, whose partner is really good with words, if you're like, I always feel so confused, and then I get lost in what the issue is, that's a tactic. We're not consciously doing it most of the time, but it is a tactic. So be aware in those moments to be like, hey, you're using a lot of words and it is confusing me, and it's a form of defensiveness. And if you don't believe me, let's watch the video from Katie Rössler, and we're going to see how it is. It's a form of defensiveness and deflection, right? So, why we become defensive is very clear. There's a softer side, we want to protect it. What do we do about it though? We got to be able to give our partner feedback. We've got to be able to share when something upsets us. We've got to be able to, you know, talk about like how can we make this better? But there's some things we definitely shouldn't do. We definitely shouldn't get louder and start yelling at our partner. We definitely shouldn't start to like talk even more to hijack the conversation. We definitely shouldn't provide more examples of the things they've done that we're trying to point out are a problem because that's not going to help. That doesn't bring the walls down. Now, if you watched my video on resolution and repair, you know that repair is what brings the walls down. But continuing to defend your reasoning, well, but you did this, and then last week you did this, and like, I think we need to talk about it. Those castle walls are not coming down. Yelling at them louder. Seriously, things like this, they don't help. We all know this, and yet we do them because we're annoyed. We're tired of it. Why can't you just hear me? Why can't I just share with you? And sometimes we are coming vulnerably to our partner to share something that has hurt us that they said or did, to share how we're disappointed in something they did or forgot. And their defensiveness is to protect them from our disappointment, our sadness, and our hurt. And we then feel raw and we feel that vulnerable side of us need to be protected. And so then we start to get louder and defend and react, right? So even if you have the best intentions, or if you have this really soft side of you that needs to be addressed and shared with, like, hey, this is how I'm feeling right now. If your partner is not in a state where they can hear it, if they haven't learned the skills and tools to be able to hold the vulnerable side of you, hear that feedback, and know what to do with it, then they will react in a way that hurts you. Does that mean never say anything again? No, absolutely not. I work with couples every week where we work through what are the skills and tools. And yes, we're going to slip into old patterns, but how do we repair and keep moving forward? It's essential we learn these skills. It's essential that we learn the tools to deal with our own defensiveness. Because though I'm teaching you how to respond and react to your partner's defensiveness, I'm also teaching you how to deal with yours. And defensiveness is also our nervous system's sort of fight or flight kind of going off, and us being able to go, I got to calm down before we have this conversation. I got to get in a better place because you just shared open with me how I hurt you. And I want to tell you all the times you hurt me. And I've just discounted you vulnerably coming to me by making it about all the stuff you've done to me. And that's where resentment, got another training on that from past week. Resentment will build up where we can't even hear what our partner is saying. I've worked with so many couples where I've had to stop the partner and say, I get that you're hurting, but you can't even stop to really listen to your partner's hurt because your hurt you've made so big that those castle walls are so far up that you don't even see your name calling anymore, that you're putting them down. You can't even see that anymore because the walls are so far up, the cannons are out, you're defensive. And what will happen is when doing couples work, you'll notice the skills will start to be built and one of them will come vulnerably and the other one is still not ready to hear, I'm at fault. They're not ready to say, I take ownership. You're absolutely right. I did say that thing. I did forget that thing for the 10th time, and you keep having to remind me. They have a hard time saying, even though you really want me to do things in the house this way, I don't want to, and I'm not going to. So, what do we do about that? Because I'm tired of fighting you on it, right? They're not able to do that yet. And so their defensive wall will come up, and the person who finally shared vulnerable, their wall will come up, and they'll think, we've made no progress. And I have to remind them that the fact that they're even having the conversation about what they would like to see change and to be able to speak vulnerably to each other, even for a minute or two, is the progress. Our defensive wall is like gut instinct, it's our like autopilot. We're going to go to it because it's the easiest route. But each step we make towards being a little more vulnerable with each other, each step we make to keeping the defensive walls down as long as we can is progress. And it doesn't always feel good. You don't always walk away from a challenging conversation where you actually did get through things and feel on top of the world together. You might go, well, I don't hate you and I don't dislike you, but I'm just not right. I'm sure right now, but I know this is better than what we usually feel. That's okay. That's progress. It's okay. So we definitely don't do things to add fuel to the fire. We definitely take self responsibility for the like, ooh, I started yelling at you and I don't want to join in the defensiveness battle, right? But let's talk about what helps. Okay, because that's why you guys are here. What are the practical tools? Number one, I want you to focus on you staying regulated because when we're in partnership with someone and when we're in the same room as them, we're constantly co regulating. If one of us is not intentionally aware of what's happening, how am I feeling? How are they feeling? What's going on? And we're just living in the moment, we will co regulate more towards the negative. If one of us stays in that state of, I'm about to share some feedback, I know she's going to get defensive, but I'm going to stay calm. I'm going to really focus, taking deep breaths. Hey, I need to share this feedback with you. And I know it might be painful to hear. So, tell me when's a good time. Yeah, we can talk right now. Okay, here's the thing. I'm really hurt that this keeps happening and I'd really like to see it change. And I need to feel loved in this relationship. And because these things happen, I don't always feel loved. Well, you do this, so why would I ever, right? And you take in that deep breath and you're like, I understand it's hard to hear this feedback. And you just stay regulated. You will find 7 times out of 10, eventually your partner will start to come down too because you will naturally co-regulate each other. But as soon as you go up, and then out the door, right? Like leave. That's what happens. So we have to stay intentional about regulating ourselves for the sake of the relationship. Now, does that mean we're going to like be perfect at it? No, we're going to mess up. Absolutely. But when we start to be like more of a maybe this calm rock and they start to bring themselves down, it's a productive conversation. So that's the first thing. Really try to stay regulated. And when you need to take a pause, say, hey, I need a 10-minute break. I'm going to go take a walk and I'll come back in 10 minutes and let's finish this conversation. And that gives you both a pause. The second thing is slow down the conversation because the person who gets defensive, I bet, starts to talk a bit faster. I bet starts to bring in a lot of stories and things. So if you go, that was a lot that you just shared. I just need to take a moment. I want to make sure I understood what you said. So when I shared, hey, it hurt me that you forgot to plan date night again, and you said you never plan date night. That's correct, right? You're like, yeah. So you're slowing down the conversation. You're not jumping to the next and the next and the next. This is not a tennis match back and forth, right? This is, hold on. Let's start getting our prefrontal cortex involved. Let's breathe more. Let's think more. Because their gut response is not thinking more. It is playing off a story in their head. I'm not enough. I've failed. Resentment's coming up, all the things that you've done. So slow down the conversation. And then, kind of what I modeled, lead with curiosity. Hey, I'm noticing that you're getting more angry about this. And I can understand. I would probably feel angry too, but I want to understand why so that I know, is it how I said it or is it what I said? Then you allow them to talk. They're probably going to go a mile a minute and you self regulate, slow down the conversation, stick with curiosity. Okay, but I do have this feedback that something hurt me. What would be the best way for me to share that with you? And your partner might say, and I've heard this one in my own marriage, if you would take ownership for your part first, it would be much easier for me to hear the feedback and take ownership as well. Oh, see, in that situation, my partner gave me the math equation that works for him. You take ownership first, then you can share the problem, then you can share what you need, and that equals much better resolution because you took ownership first. And what's funny enough is like when my partner told me that, my first thought was like, well, that would be great if you did that too. But I was like, wait a second. Literally, if I stop, I breathe, get curious, he just gave me the equation to better communication with him. Okay. When it's my turn to ask for what I need, I can go, you know how you shared with me that you would really prefer I start taking ownership? I would love that too. I'm noticing maybe that's just something we put into how we give each other feedback. I don't make it about me in that argument or that discussion. I allow that one to finish, and then I wait a day or 2, and then I share. And I know some of you are like, "But I don't like putting it off. I don't like waiting. It bothers me, or I'm gonna forget." Write it down. Put it somewhere to the side. This is about being effective in your relationship, not about whether you forget something or not, or if you were right, or you got it off your chest. Whoa. Protect the relationship. If you just had a really good conversation, don't problem stack it. Take the win. Take the wow. I have the equation my partner needs to get feedback. Let me practice that. It went really well. Huh. That works. Okay. Let's practice it some more. Doesn't mean it will always work, but if more times than not it does, take it. The other thing is, I want you to speak from your experience versus accusations. This can be so much as, I'm noticing the more that people in the home don't listen to me, the more I feel not valued. I feel disrespected. And I'm wondering how we can start to change that pattern in our home because I don't want to feel that way. You don't want to feel that way, right? It's speaking from experience, not you don't listen. I constantly have to repeat myself, and the kids are watching what you're doing. And so they're doing it back to me. No, I am sharing this environment, this pattern is happening. It hurts. You wouldn't want to feel that way either. I know you wouldn't. I know you don't like that. How do we change that? And if in the answer they give you, it's pointing the finger back at you, you go, I'm open to receiving some feedback of things I can do differently because of course I'm part of the pattern too. I'm just wondering what are some of the things that you're willing to help in that pattern too. You can put it back on them to take responsibility. But again, you might need to take some. Yeah, I can see. I do. I do let people just kind of walk all over me. I do people please, or I do just blow up and yell before I've even given people a chance to listen because it's been 10 years of this or whatever, right? This is the piece where if we speak more from our experience than the accusation, there's a higher chance we're going to be listened to, which is super important. So here's some like example that I've sort of drafted out, like you know, you never listen to me. You're always on your phone. We know this one. Many of us know this one, right? You know, it's going into, I'd love for you to understand what this experience has been like for me. I really want to share with you what it's like from my perspective. When I look at my husband and I'm really so excited to share something with you, but you're on your phone when I walk in the door and you don't even look up, I feel this all this like this big hot air balloon that's so excited to like share and then it like deflates. And I'm just wondering if you'd be willing to look up and say, "Oh, hi, honey. Well, I didn't hear you come in. I get it. Maybe you didn't. So maybe I'll start to go, "Hey, I'm here. But are you willing to meet me halfway? Don't feed into the attack. There's going to be many defenses. Those are like little walls saying, "Do we need to pull the big wall up?" And you just go, "Yeah, I can improve on this." But I'm so excited to share something with you, and I don't want my balloon to be deflated. And I know you love to see me excited. And then they can meet you there where you are. So being able to understand what is it that is really upsetting you and what is it you need, sharing the experience of it, staying regulated, being calm, and instead of attacking, really being able to go, like, I'd like to invite you to be a part of this by letting me share it with you. Do not over explain, please. That's also in the don't do, right? Don't overword it. Don't over explain. I work with a lot of ADHD couples where I'm like, 3 sentences. If you go beyond 3 sentences, you've lost your partner. Two is even better. And you should not be externally processing out what is the problem exactly in the argument. If you do that, you monologue. And I don't know about you guys, but anyone who monologues to me, I'm gone. Like, I'm like, glaze over. My attention's gone. So if you can't keep it to 2 to 3 sentences, nobody's going to be paying attention, right? Or if those 2 to 3 sentences aren't really like, I actually know what the problem is and it's well thought out and it's a little more accusatory and attacking, defensive walls are coming up from your partner. So this is why when we want to give feedback, when we want to share vulnerably, and we know, I feel like I'm walking on eggshells. No, stop and go. What are my 2 to 3 sentences? What's really bothering me? Okay, it's this. Great. From there, how do I want to convey that in the way that my partner receives it? And these weekly trainings every Thursday give you these tools if you go back and watch them. And then every Friday, I give you the rebuild practices. So my method is called rebuild. It's really looking at how do we tear down the old, all the wisdom we've gained decades together and create something new, something based off of who we are now and what we know works, right? So on Fridays, you get the rebuild practice that goes along with the Thursday training. But if you're like, right now, I don't have capacity for that, Katie, I just want to do these little Thursday trainings, you're getting that. That's giving you the support. Then you can come into our paid community and ask me detailed questions. Katie, this is what happens when I try to talk and my partner gets super defensive. Okay, let's look at this Friday rebuild practice. We tried it this weekend. This is what we have questions on. And you get that one on one support. You get to have that. So tomorrow, we are going to be talking about how do we get through this defensiveness together. And the rebuild practice is called Moving Through Defensiveness Together. You're going to be able to have some scripts, some questions to ask, and it gives you to a guided, step by step, here's how we work through this. Now, it's really great if your partner's on board and is like, yes, I get defensive, or yes, you get defensive, or better, yes, we both get defensive. How can we learn these skills together? But if your partner is not in that space where they want to learn, you can be learning these tools till they learn to start to co regulate based off of your calmness. And then you can go, hey, yesterday I was watching this video about defensiveness, and I thought it was really good teaching me how to recognize some things on myself. Would you be open to watching it or listening to it? And then there's some questions that she posted today on Friday that we can ask each other and some scripts to go through so that we know how to handle when we get defensive. And at that point, they might go, yeah, this sounds like a great idea. Let's do that. So make sure you check that out tomorrow. So the key with defensiveness is we're protecting something soft within us that we don't really want our partner to point out or see, or we don't want to feel. And we have to remember that our partner is not a life or death threat in these arguments. But if you are coming to your partner and they keep getting defensive with you, get curious, stay calm, stick with the boundary of, no, but this is still a problem, but I want to be able to convey it in a way that you can hear me. And I want to be able to talk with you without it hurting you every time. So, what are the ways we can work on that? Be willing to collaborate together, and you're going to see some great changes, and you'll notice the defensive walls go down. Now, my last tip for you is to watch last week's weekly training where we talked about the 7 small habits of healthy couples. Because if you're doing those 7 small habits, you're going to find naturally defensiveness goes down. Because if we're feeding the relationship with a lot of fertilizer, giving it great sun, all the things it needs, then when it's a super cloudy day and it's like rain coming down on it, it's going to be like, we can handle this. We're good. It's okay. You won't find you get as defensive. So go back and watch that to be able to go, okay, we're going to work on our defensiveness, but we also have these tools over here that are going to support us. Okay, I'll see you guys next week.